You're gonna do the motion to come out of, center public session, and then a call to order. Yep.
Motion to enter into public session. Ms. Coffey, Ms. Kies, all in favor? The vote is unanimous. Now we will call the meeting to order and
It's in public session.
into public session.
There you go. Pledge of allegiance.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You did great.
Come on up, bud. As David's coming up, I just want to say a few words. I just want to thank David, number one, for sticking this out and making this happen for yourself and your family. I know we and they are extremely proud, and I know a lot of people had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and it all paid off. And I want to thank Mr. Hamill, too, who really, helped to make this happen. Again, worked with David, his counselors, the support people at the school. It was an amazing team effort, but it came down to David wanting to do this, and that's why I'm the most proud. Superintendent Daly is principal of the Gates Chi School. I'm honored to present David A. Rodriguez Jr. as a candidate for graduation. He has completed all requirements for graduation established by the Board of Regents of the University of New York and by the Gates Chi Central School District.
Vice President Richards, I have received the recommendation of Principal Hamill that David A. Rodriguez Jr. should receive his high school diploma. I recommend to you that the Board of Education confer these diplomas.
As Vice President of the Board of Education of Gates Chi Central School District, I direct the diplomas to be conferred.
Okay. At this time, please rise. You're already up. Please move your tassel from the right to the left. Bring it over, and then bring it over again. You are now pronounced you a proud graduate of Gates Chi-Li High School. All right, congratulations to David and his family. Thank you. That's short and sweet. All right.
GC Pride Awards.
Superintendent Daly, Vice President Richards, members of the board, that's going to be tough to top, but we're going to try here with some GC Pride Awards. And congratulations to David. So first off, the athletics department is excited to give out GC Pride Awards tonight. And our first recipient is going to be Kayla Mirage, if she could please come up. All right, a few words about Kayla. I'm honored to recognize Kayla tonight. When it was the athletics department's turn to recognize a student, Kayla was the first person that came to mind. She's an 11th grader and she competes in our competitive cheer program. Kayla is a fantastic athlete and with an even more impressive academic transcript. But I'm highlighting Kayla tonight because of her compassion and her hard work in the athletic department. Quick story about Kayla. I don't know if you remember this. So GC, we've hosted a number of cheer competitions. We're becoming a little bit of a hub for hosting cheer competitions. So I've learned my cheer lingo pretty quickly this school year. But after the Spartan Showdown, which was a really large competition, late at night, the coaches, myself, some yellow coats were rolling up mats, we were moving them to the side, and Kayla's right there rolling them with us. And it was late, and it was a Thursday night, and I said, Kayla, you are the only person who is not being paid to still be here, and you're rolling up mats. And she was nice, and she was pleasant. She said, I just want to help and put everything away. And that is exactly who Kayla is. She is selfless, and she is unbelievably hardworking. She's in her 4th year of cheer, and she's on our varsity program. Many of our cheerleaders have been cheering for over a decade, and Kayla, because of her hard work and her passion, has caught right up to them, and she does a great job in our program. I just want to quote Coach Marciniak, who really reinforces the story I told, that Kayla is a huge asset to our cheer program. She is one of the hardest workers and is a fantastic role model to her teammates and our younger cheer athletes. We love Kayla, and we're excited to have one more year with her next year. So it's my honor to give a GC Pride Award to Kayla Mirage. We're going to get a photo. Thank you. All right, our next GC Pride Award is kind of a unique one, so I'm going to invite Karen and Gerard Iglesia to please come up. So with me, I have the co-founders of Primetime 585. You may be familiar with them. You may have seen them on social media. You may have seen them on our sidelines and at our track meets and so on and so forth. So tonight's a little unique for the Gage Child Athletic Department in recognizing a community resource, and that's truly who Primetime is and are in these two. They are a community resource that services Section 5, including Gage Child. They are all over the county. Just last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I saw Karen and Gerard at sectional swim, and then we came back for a basketball game, and they were at Wheatland Chile that night. They were in Webster a few months later. They're all over the place. And I'm getting off my script here a little bit. But in looking into their organization, they were originally founded in 2005 as an organization that provided free basketball camps to students in our community. They've now grown into a platform that provides digital and in-person content that highlights students and student athletes and athletic programs in our communities. Primetime 585 is a local resource that has positively impacted our community and communities all around Section 5. You can literally see local athletic departments, including ours, mimicking how they cover students and how they provide student voice for student athletes in and around the area. But their influence doesn't stop there. As a not-for-profit, which they received this year, Primetime 585 also serves as a platform to combat racism and poverty in our community. They also serve as a vehicle to build bridges between young adults and law enforcement. So on behalf of Gage Child Athletics, our students, our community, and Section 5, I would like to thank Karen and Gerard for their leadership and commitment to promoting students, athletes, giving them a voice, and highlighting the amazing work that the athletic departments provide communities, and most especially provide our student athletes in a shared voice in and around the county. So here, without further ado, I'd like to present these awards to Gerard and Karen Iglesia.
Next, we have the Nispera Awards.
Well, we have two huge awards we received from NISPRA, the New York School Public Relations Association. The first one is an award of honor, and it's given to the Gage Child Central School District, Eva Petrosino, Director of Communications, Lindsay Reddick, Communications Specialist, and Lisa Constantine, Graphic Designer. It was for our budget and bond newsletter last year, and it received an award of honor. So again, being recognized by the state level organization for the great job our communications department is doing.
I was just working on the community.
Are you gonna okay. Take a picture of yourself? There you go. All right. And then we also received an award of excellence awarded to the district, Eva Petrosino, Director of Communications, and Dr. Mitchell Ball, Assistant Superintendent for Business, for the category was Strategic Campaign, and how can anyone forget last year's A Bit of Budget with Ball video series. So here we are for both of you to receive the Award of Excellence. Again, a new way of communicating out about budget that was award-winning. So congratulations to both of you and the district.
It was all Mrs. Petrosino.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thank you. Congratulations.
Agenda changes?
Yes, we are changing M in consensus and making it D in action items.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yes.
Next we have the Vice President comments. I would just like to say on behalf of the board, we always continue to thank our staff and students for their hard work, but I would also at this point like to thank our students, our staff in the community, and our parents. Because without us working together, this would not work. We would not be able to do the job that we are here to do in conjunction with the superintendent and our school district staff. So again, not only thank you to the staff and the students, but thank you to the community and thank you to the parents for all of the work that you put in. It's been a hard last 2 years, but we're here with you, we're here to support you, and here to do what's right for our students, so thank you. Next, we move on to points of interest. Okay, Ms. Kies?
Last week, I attended the district equity meeting with Mrs. Coffey, and Mrs. Unson. Nice to be there working with our administrators, our staff, and community members. I believe we have one more this school year? Yeah. One more in May.
Thank you. Ms. Coffey?
So I realized this event took place a little while ago, but I failed to mention it at the last meeting. I was able to virtually attend Brasser's band concert and chorus concert, which was so nice to be able to watch all of it and share it with my children, especially the child who's going to be old enough soon to decide if they want to participate. So that was a really great experience.
Any other points of interest? Now we move on to report of meetings. Mr. Moscato?
Saturday, February 5th, we had a meeting with many of our local and state and also some federal representatives, talk about our issues. You know, I think it was well attended. We had well over 100 people there, plus about 20 representatives from the legislature. Congressman Morelli was there. We had representatives, Senator Gillibrand and Senator Schumer's office as well. So I think it went well. We had a chance to talk about many different issues and try to talk to them about the issues of having some good guidance from the federal level for many things, one of which is COVID responses. And also we talked a little more about the issue of bus drivers and how we can help expedite the process of getting more bus drivers involved. We also talked about a trip to Albany in March, but we found out that the staff won't be coming back until the first week of March, which is when we were going to go. So they basically kept the legislative office building shut down. You can't get into the Capitol, can't get too far, but you can get into it. So basically we decided to cancel that and try to do some local efforts with them. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to visitor comments. The Gates Charles Central School District Board of Education invites public comment at this time. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. We ask that individuals state their name and address prior to comments and utilize the podium and microphone to address the board. Although the board will not respond directly to individual comments at this time, items brought to the attention of the board may be taken under consideration for future response or action. In order to comply with laws related to confidentiality, we ask that issues related to specific school district personnel or students be brought to the attention of the superintendent of schools privately. The board reserves the right to terminate a speaker's comments if his or her comments are in excess of 3 minutes, are repetitive, or are not appropriate for discussion in an open public forum. Mr. Charles Johnson.
How you guys doing?
Even.
Okay, I have to ask, is there a committee at all to talk about getting rid of the masks for the kids? The last meeting, the only thing I heard was the Supreme Court said it's unconstitutional for the mask mandate, and our governor, Dictator 2.0, said she still wants to ban the mask mandate. I don't understand what this is teaching our kids, where we have a constitution and now we're letting the governor be above the Constitution. But even with the paperwork I've given you guys, is there any consideration to kind of like, okay, this has gone too far, it's not worth it for the health of the kids? The only thing I keep thinking is the money from the state. If we take off the masks, the state isn't going to give the money, and therefore it messes up the budget and so on. That's it. I'm just hoping that one of these days I'm not talking about the mask and I'm just sitting in the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we'll hear from K-12 math.
All right. Good evening, Vice President Richards, as well as Superintendent Daly and members of the board. It is my honor to bring the K-12 Math Department to you this evening, and we're excited for what they have to share. We're going to get out of our seats and move just a little bit. So a little bit back to before when we did some of those reports, something you were used to. So with that, I'm going to have our Director of Elementary and Secondary Education kind of walk you through what that's going to look like, and that is Katie Kuhn and Aaron Eugene.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our building math teachers this evening. We have, I'm going to ask them to wave so you know who they are. We have Kristen Bish from Florence Brasser, Pete Sakelli from Disney, Tina Cito from Paul Road, and Jen Padullo from Armstrong. This is an outstanding group of instructional leaders within our elementary program, and it's a group that I learned recently has been together for coming up on 10 years. They're going to have an anniversary, which is exciting. Tonight, they will be showcasing features of the Everyday Math resource. This was a resource that was incorporated into our curriculum in grades 2 through 5 last year and kindergarten and first grade this year. They'll be stationed down in the CSE room, and specifically they'll be providing you with some background on the resource, describing the spiraling component within the curriculum, showcasing some of the digital tools that both teachers and students use, and featuring some of the assessment components. So a lot to look forward to.
And for our secondary teacher leaders, Brent Gillette is here representing the middle school, so he leads the 6 through 8 departments at the middle school. And we are so excited to have John Unson here for his farewell tour to you, because you will be approving his retirement later tonight. So John has led the department. He is our curriculum leader for grades 6 through 12, so he connects the middle school and high school in the areas of curriculum, but he also serves the role of department leader for the high school. He has served both of these roles together and really led that department in many areas for several years. And he's going to be terribly missed, big shoes to fill. So we're super excited to have him here tonight. It just happened by chance that they were presenting the same night as his retirement is being approved. So they will be talking to you about what they're doing at the secondary level to focus on student growth and rigorous instruction, and they will be in Superintendent Daly's conference room right behind us. So if you have been with us for a while, and I know we have a lot of new faces on the board, but a few years ago we used to do this where we would break you up into groups. I'm going to give you a note catcher. You don't have to fill in the boxes, but it's really just for you to capture what you're hearing about instruction at the elementary and secondary levels, or questions that you might have that we can come back and bring more information back to you. So we will give you this, and what we're going to do is have cabinet and the board split up. So half will start with secondary and half will start with elementary. And we'll just have with Mr. McKinney start by counting off by twos, and I'll give you your note catcher.
1, 2, 1.
2.
1. Thank you.
So if you are a 1, you can start with our secondary teachers right in the conference room behind you, and if you're a 2, you can head down to the CSE room. Troy and I will be around to kind of time it. You'll have about 8 minutes, 7, 8 minutes to be through. And then we'll have you rotate in the other room. You're good.
I'm not saying do it. If you did, it's okay. All right? 'Cause you
Seems that way, yes. This is a little on the quicker turn, but normally we're pretty quick, but I got a lot going on tonight.
I was at Charlotte. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, a couple of us actually. I did get a new phone.
That's it. So we just need to. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's device.
How'd it go?
Good.
Yeah. We could have used like double the time, but they did so.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's never enough time when you have a chance to talk with teachers, and we know that from when we used to do this years ago, and we had to pull you away. And that happened again. You know, there's never enough time to have the conversations, but we really hope that you got a glimpse at what is happening at each level as far as math instruction, assessment, and what we're doing to support our students. But we wanted to come back together and see if you did have any questions that you didn't get a chance, you know, because of time to ask, that we can answer for you.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
So next we'll move on to the Hillside 2021 school year report.
All right, again, my privilege to welcome the Hillside Work Scholarship Connection and their team. We are fortunate to have this partnership for many years and grow our partnership this year. And so providing support for over 100 students and the great work that they do. And so we're excited to hear some of the results from last year and some of the great things happening this year. So I'll turn it over to the Executive Director, Mr. Roderick Green.
Thank you, Troy. So just want to thank again the board and senior leadership for your support of Hillside Work Scholarship Connection. You know, we're going on our 6th year, and this partnership has just been transformative, to say the least, and just so blessed again for the opportunity to serve the young people in the district here. I'm actually going to turn it over to my colleague after I introduce Elmira Ramos-White, who is our team supervisor and site lead for Gates Chi-Li. Audrey Toper, who was our inaugural youth advocate that started this back in 2015-16. And then Paige Maltman, who joined the team a few years ago. And they'll introduce the student, but I'll turn it over to Elmira.
Thank you, Rod. Just for clarity, we've done 6 years. This is actually our 7th year that we've been with Gates Chi-Li. Just wanted to, I have the easy part, right? So this is just going over last year, our outcomes as it relates to our milestones. And then we'll have Audrey touch bases next with regard to the enrichment programming and the things that the students took part in last year. So I'll skip over this slide. Rod gave the introductions. I will just highlight that our 3rd youth advocate that joined the team this year is Jaquise Webb. So he's definitely familiar face around Gates Chi-Li, and so he's with us this year. And so we'll have a total of 105 students. For our caseload capacity for last year, you'll see there are a total of 75 students were enrolled. And then they continue to use a variety of recruitment strategies to enroll all of those students. So as seniors graduate, new 9th graders are taken on. For attendance, you'll see that the average attendance for HWC students at Gates Chi-Li High School was 91%. The GPA overall for our students was 77%. And then here you'll see that there were 25 students that attended our Youth Employment Training Academy. And then there were 34 students total that were employed at the end of August 31st of last year, 2021. And then there you'll see over 331,000 is the estimated economic impact to the community through taxable wages. For our grade promotion and graduation milestones, we had 67 out of the 70 students, so that's 96, that were fully promoted to the next grade level, and 12 out of 12, so there is 100% graduation rate for last year for all the students that were enrolled in the program. So there is an additional note that there was a junior. Sometimes we do have juniors that decide that they want to graduate early and they're able to do so. So we did have a total of 13 grads, but as it relates to cohort, it was 12 out of 12. And so now I'll hand it over to Audrey Toper to talk about enrichment programming.
All right, so our enrichments typically fall under two different categories. So we have college and career awareness and readiness to help students prepare for their post-secondary goals, and life and social skills to prepare students additionally for skills they will need in adulthood. All of our activities tend to have a social component and focus on building rapport between students and advocates. And I think that providing transportation, having meals together with students, and being outside of the school environment really helps us get to know the students more and have them see us in a different light and make them more open to seeking our help and support. Some of the activities that we have done over the past year, with some of our pandemic guidelines, we started off this summer with some of our activities were through Zoom, so we would drop off activities to the students at their homes to do, like decorating kindness rocks. We did gingerbread houses, and we made yogurt parfaits. Can't forget to put yogurt parfaits. And then eventually we were transitioning back into more in-person activities like bowling and ice skating, which the kids really loved. And then a lot of, there was some trade exploration activities with like the construction site for La Chase up at Marketplace. So we like to just get the kids out and about as much as possible. And then, you know, that helps us to support them more within the school environment.
And I'm just here to introduce LeVar Fuller. He's one of our highly engaged students. He's been in the program since freshman year. He comes to, I don't think he's missed a day of tutoring yet this year. He just comes to a lot of stuff with us. Right now we're doing a series of cooking classes with the Gandhi Institute of Rochester. We just did that last night. So he's very engaged. He's very engaged in the school as well as Hillside. So this is LeVar.
Good evening. As my advocates have already said, I joined Hillside when I was a freshman. I came to Gateshead High School, and since then I have not had one regret about joining their program. They really are fantastic, and they have created such a comfortable space. And it's not just for working. It's anytime a student of theirs needs, you know, a mental calm down space, they've got it. You know, and they provide for that student. They're very caring people, and they never really, you know, shadow from that. That's never not clear with them that they care. They've made me a better student, you know, such a better student. Academics has never ever been my strong point, and so I am somewhere where I didn't think I would be able to be. You know, as far as organization and, you know, balancing all that I do, and I do a lot within school, and they're always encouraging me to do so, and you know, they're always there to have my back when I need it. Their caring also goes to our fun activities. They do plenty of fun activities. They've taken us to see plenty of plays. I've gone to see The Lion King and A Christmas Carol with them. And we've done an African drumming class. We've gone to bowling. She said, you know, we're doing cooking classes now. And even during quarantine, you know, that caring never stopped, that fun never stopped. They, you know, delivered materials to us so that we could participate in so many different things: the kindness rocks, the gingerbread houses, the parfaits. And as they help us with our academics, they reward us for doing great things with our academics. You know, there's an A board, right? We call it A board, where you put up all of your good grades, and you know, and you get rewarded for it. And you know, Mr. Welch is always checking on me, making sure I'm doing okay so that he can allow me to do all the extracurricular with the band. And I go, well, yeah, Ms. Tober just came and gave me ice cream because I got, such a wonderful report card. So they're encouraging and they're absolutely loving. And I would recommend it for so many other students. I always do. And I'm glad, that you've allowed them to be a part of Gates Chalet. I'm glad I'm a part of Gates Chalet and a part of their program. Thank you.
So really, this is the end of our presentation. We just want to thank everybody that has had a hand in supporting this partnership. None of this would be possible, and none of what LeVar shared would be possible without that support. So thank you. And if you have any questions, we can answer those either now or get back to you later, depending on time.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to say thank you, LeVar, for presenting tonight. You couldn't have picked a more exceptional student for this. That once you guys have met LeVar here, you will not forget him. This is definitely not an unusual way that he presents either. He's always, since I've known you in middle school, always had a shirt and tie on and a smile on his face. So glad to see you're doing so well.
Thank you, Mrs. Knight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board of Education, thank you again for having me speak here briefly. I'm excited to talk about dual sport participation as just an update. So a little bit about this opportunity. This opportunity comes to us after Section 5 approved this regulation from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, and then our league took action on this, making it possible earlier this school year. So we're excited to dip our toes into this and pilot it this spring. The intention of dual sport participation is to provide our student athletes additional opportunities to compete in our athletic program. At the core of it, it's a specialized program really for students in a team sport, but then also an individual sport. We recognize that we will not have a lot of students participating in this opportunity if they're participating in two team sports because of conflicts. However, if there are specialized students in specialized athletics, in the example I'll use tonight is a student, say in our fall programming, is a soccer player, but they also happen to be a diver on our swim program and an accomplished diver. They could compete on their fall team as a soccer athlete, but then also dive because that's a specialized individual activity to meet their requirement. To make sure that everyone is on the same page if they're participating this way, we've created a contract that aligns with the regulations of the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, Section 5, and our league, where the student athlete, myself, the two head coaches of the program, and the parents and or guardians will sign outlining rules and regulations for both sports. Most of our sports, regardless of season, follow under the same rules and regulations. However, there are a handful of sports that have more practice requirements than others. Everyone will be on the same page before anybody is approved to go forward in these programs. And we're excited for this opportunity. I know there's a couple students that are interested. We're going to make this a fillable document on our website so then families can fill it out, make the athletic department aware that they are interested in it, and really prompt that conversation, bringing the coaches, the student athlete, and the families together so we can make sure that this is possible. But to make just part of the contract will also stipulate a student that the sport that is their primary sport and their sport that is their secondary sport. All students will have to meet those minimum requirements for both to compete, and also to compete in sectionals. There's minimum requirements that you have to be eligible for. But anytime there is a conflict, the primary sport will be the sport that the student athlete has to participate in to prevent what I could foresee coaches fighting over kids, especially as things get close to postseason play. And Section 5 and NISVA have come out and said that they are not going to stagger state finals, state semifinals, sectionals around dual participation. They are going to stay on their schedule, and that's why it's really unique. In talking to our league, I know a question that might come up is how many students are actually doing this. A couple districts have started this earlier this year. and have piloted it, and it's been only a handful of students. I spoke to Spencerport and Hilton today in their programs. Spencerport, I believe it was this past winter season, didn't have anybody participate. They had a few people apply. However, when they sat down and they showed the conflicts and how often they would not actually be able to attend their secondary sport, they decided it wasn't worth it. So it's really putting schedules together, talking with everybody face to face, and seeing if this is something that we can do. But I'm excited about the opportunity because I know it'll fit based on the season and the sports of interest for our students. Any questions on dual sport participation? Yep.
About 38 years too late for me. I was in soccer and swimming and diving, and it
Yeah.
would have been perfect, but
You were the example. I wasn't even thinking of that.
I was gonna also add, a few years ago, as you know, with my youngest, same thing. She would have to choose between gymnastics state
Yep.
and track because they were both same time, same city, but completely different
Yep.
options, and there was no way to do both. So, but thank you for this.
Yep.
Anyone else have any other questions or
Just real
comments?
quick, I know there was a recent change in the classification of cheerleading. So are the cheerleading squads eligible to participate in this if they want to?
Yes, they're New York State sanctioned sports.
Okay.
Yep.
How are our coaches feeling about it? Are they seem to be supporting or on board?
I think they're excited about it. You know, if we have a couple students a season, it also is, and we'll be honest, a couple of the smaller school districts in our area in Section 5 jumped on it earlier. And really, in speaking with them, it was a need to fill rosters to keep programming. That's a strategic move for districts, and we would benefit from that as well, too. You know, many of the students, in my understanding, that have taken advantage of this, especially for their secondary sport, they're accomplished in that sport. They just want to play another team sport, to use the diving example. Those would be circumstances where we are taking on a student to play their primary sport, but then compete in something they excel in, that they still want to have a social team sport experience, but they still want to compete. And so it's going to benefit us at the end of the day as well with our competitiveness. And really, for those students that compete in individual sports but also want the team sport experience, it's going to give them another role model, another coach to be in front of, a new group of kids to be exposed to. So our coaches are excited about it. But I think the conversations, when everyone's at the table, to make sure it's possible, will be key to this being sustainable.
So in your example with the soccer player and the diver.
Yep.
So if you select soccer as your sport and diving as your secondary sport.
Yep.
And then you start going through your season, you realize you're an amazing diver. Can you switch to diving as your first sport and then put soccer on the back?
Whatever you establish at the beginning is going to be the beginning. I think it would be a real challenge and would cause conflict if we started doing that. And I would feel bad for the team sport knowing that they're then losing that kid. Because essentially, if your primary is the individual sport, you're essentially not going to be able to compete in that team sport anymore because you'd be going there every day. The nice thing about this structure is with your primary being a team sport, you're not taking away, by competing, say in diving, you're not taking away playing time from anybody. You meet your minimum practices, whether it's after, say, a soccer practice, you dive afterwards to meet your minimums, and you could still compete after a soccer practice that evening. You're not taking away a roster spot from somebody, where if it was the other way around and you're never at soccer and then game day you show up, that could create other conflicts too. Especially if you wear the wrong uniform in that scenario. Other questions?
Any other questions or comments? Oh,
Great.
thank
And
you,
as it
Dr.
changes, we'll evolve with it. And I think this is going to be something that sticks around here in Section 5 for a while. So we'll evolve with it too. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the discussion items, Education Foundation update.
The Education Foundation met earlier this month to put into place all of their planning for their March 4th event with the Harlem Wizards. So that'll be taking place in our field house where the doors open at 6. The event starts at 7. And we're looking forward to being able to see a district formed staff team playing against the Wizards.
With the police chief on it.
With the chief of police on the team. That's all.
Thank you. Moving on to approval of a consensus agenda. Motion, please. Ms. Littlewood, Mr. Long, I was about to say Chief Long, but. All in favor? Vote is unanimous. And now we're gonna approve of consensus items A through M. Oh, sorry. B through M. Motion, please. Ms. Kies, Ms. Unson, all in favor? Vote is unanimous. Okay. Nomination of Monroe to Orlean Bosse's candidate. Motion to adopt the following resolution. Be it resolved that Dennis Lava, residing at 423 Upper Valley Road, Rochester, New York, 14624, in the Gates Child Central School District, is hereby nominated as a candidate on the Monroe to Orleans Bosse's board for a 3-year term of office to begin July 1, 2022, and end on June 30, 2025. Motion, please. Ms. Coffey, Ms. Kies, all in favor? Vote is unanimous. Corrective action plan. Motion to approve attached correction action plan for the 2020 to 2021 independent audit, GSAB 87 and workers' compensation reserve. Motion, please. Ms. Kies, Mr. Long, all in favor? Thank you. Vote is unanimous. Approval of resignations, appointments, and leaves and terminations. Motion to approve the superintendent recommended resignation, appointments, leaves, and terminations. Motion, please. Ms. Littlewood and Ms. Coffey. All in favor? We have one abstention. Outside of that, vote is carried. Motion is carried, and I'm looking up for. I don't have to kick anyone tonight.
No.
Good evening. Just a brief rundown of the retirements that were just approved by the Board of Education this evening. We have 5 individuals to acknowledge. First, I'd like to acknowledge Janine Emiliano, who is a food service worker. She has been serving the district as a food service worker, is currently at Neil Armstrong, and she's been with us for 23 years. So congratulations to her, and we thank her for her years of service. Next, a bus driver retirement, Mr. Ray Petrosanto. He has been with the district for 18 years. We wish him well in retirement. And then we have 3 instructional staff members to acknowledge this evening. First, Miss Susan Swift, who is a district library media specialist. She will be retiring at the end of this school year with 21 years of service to Gates Child. We thank her for her service and wish her well. Mr. Michael Barino will also be retiring at the end of this year. He's a social studies teacher at the high school, and he has been with us for 23 years. We thank him for his service and wish him well in retirement. And finally, Mr. John Unson, who Ms. Kuhn acknowledged earlier this evening, who has faithfully served the district for 29 years as a math teacher at the high school. And we wish him well in retirement and hope that Andrea doesn't get sick of him. And thank you.
Thank you, Corrado. So, motion to approval of the board vote on superintendent's hearing appeal. Resolve, recommended action to resolve that the Board of Education, having heard an appeal from student A and student B discipline determination made by the superintendent of schools, designated as appeal number 1 and appeal number 2, and following due deliberation, hereby affirm the determination of the superintendent of schools. Motion, please. Mr. Long, Mr. Moscato, all in favor? Vote is unanimous. Superintendent comments.
Okay, a masking update as of this afternoon when we were with the health department. We've been told that the masking mandate will change no earlier than March 7th, that they were going to assess after coming back from February break at the state level and then let us know about schools. And again, we'll continue to share out information as this continues to evolve from the New York State Department of Health, the County Department of Health, and the New York State Governor's Office. We learned earlier this week, or yesterday, that we're going to be supplied with 1,676 at-home test kits and bags of KN95s for all our staff, and 5,400 pediatric KN95s, and 2,400 adult KN95 masks for students from the Monroe County government. So they'll be providing those to us this week, and then we'll get those out to our staff and students. As Mrs. Coffey shared, the Gates Chiley Foundation is hosting the Harlem Wizards versus the esteemed Gates Chiley faculty in a game on March 4th. The Wizards are a basketball team with amazing skill and professionals. They'll be taking on the legendary amateurs of Gates Chiley to raise funds for students. They'll face off against our staff for some tricks, hoops, and alley-oops. Make sure to purchase your tickets in advance. They're available on the Harlem Wizards website at www.harlemwizards.com. You can go to the scheduled tickets and click on March 4th event in Rochester. There'll also be assemblies that day in our elementary building, so the kids get to see them live. Ticket prices are available, including courtside seating. Doors open at 6 for the event. Again, tonight we were reminded why we're really here. We got to celebrate another Spartan graduating and earning his diploma. It was amazing to see the family's support and the teacher support and counselors and principals that came out to support him in making it through. And so we're very proud of him to add him as another distinguished alumni to Spartan Nation. Also this week, we'll be distributing another 2,200 kits for the secondary students that came in at the end of last week for test kits to go home. These were distributed from New York State this time. I'd like to thank Mr. Moscato and Mrs. Coffey for attending the legislative breakfast last Saturday. They gave up time on their weekend to come in. It's very powerful to be involved and to let our legislators know what we need to continue to do to keep our schools in great shape and take care of our students and staff during these interesting times. Big thing I'd like to thank out is I'm pleased to report that on February 2nd, our Gates Chiley residents voted to approve the district's proposed capital project, which will have no tax impact. More than 350 district residents exercised the right to vote, with 291 voting yes and 83 voting no to the proposed work. This project supports upgrades, improvements, and routine maintenance at Florence Brasser Elementary, Gates Chiley High School, Gates Chiley Middle School, and the Gates Chiley Administration Building, which will become a pre-kindergarten center. The next steps in our capital project planning include stakeholder group meetings with our architects as we work to create the designs for this project. Thank you again to our community for their participation in this process. It's that time of year again where Board of Education candidate packets will be available. If interested for running for the board, they become available here in the administration building March 1st. So anyone interested in running for the board could pick one up as early as March 1st or sometime after that, with more information to come on our website. We were informed at a ceremony in early February that our district again is being recognized by Top Workplaces USA for being an outstanding place to work, learn, and grow for our staff. Thanks to all our administration, faculty, and staff that completed this anonymous survey. We'll be sharing some of this data from the survey in the coming weeks, but again, a great honor nationally as Gates Chiley continues to be a great place for our community, our staff, and our students to work, learn, and grow. Recently, we had a celebrity in our midst. Their family was in the news. A certain India Richards, Gates Chiley athletic star, was selected to MEAC Women's Track Athlete of the Week 2 weeks in a row. So congratulations to Dr. Richards and her daughter on this great accomplishment. I had one of the coolest days last Thursday in the district. We had a rough morning over here dealing with some issues, and I had to leave to go to an appointment over at Florence Brasser, where I had the honor of reading a Clifford the Big Red Dog story to the kindergartners in Mrs. Fiorentino, Mr. Gundy, Mrs. Bathgate, Mrs. Drumgold's class. You ever have a tough day, go to the kindergarten wing. Any of our buildings. Those kids, and what a great pick-me-up. They were most impressed because I'm the guy that gave them the snow day the Friday before. And that's what they think I do, which was sort of cool. They're so excited to have someone come and read with them and talk about Clifford and talk about their dogs, their cats. Someone had an iguana, and some hopes to have a dog as big as Clifford someday. But what a great way to end the day and have just such a positive when you see the little kids excited to learn and to have people hang out with them. And lastly, in a few days, you'll be receiving their next issue of our award-winning, as we discussed earlier, district newsletter in your mailboxes. And on the cover, you're going to read about a really special collaboration happening at Walt Disney. 3rd and 4th grade artists at Disney are working with Rochester mural artist Sean Dunwoody to create 16 murals that will be displayed in the school. Our nationally renowned art teacher, Kelly Hanning, is the mastermind behind this collaboration, which is focused on the building's theme of belonging. I had the chance to see our artists in action last week and can't wait for the final reveal of these murals sometime this spring. Even more exciting, News 8 came out to spotlight this collaboration. Mrs. Hanning, Mr. Dunwoody, and a couple of our students did interviews to talk about this experience. That story will be airing in the next few days, as we'll be sure to share that when it does. Now, these will be replacing the drawings that were up in the cafeteria to bring it up to date that have been there forever. And the work the kids were doing and the excitement they had was intoxicating. It was great. And again, Kelly Hanning is presenting nationally at conferences about the artwork being done and the great things being done here in Gates Chile. So another great example of taking care of our kids. That is my report, ma'am.
Thank you.
Nope.
So, motion to adjourn. Ms. Littlefoot and Ms. Coffee. Everybody sleep. All in favor? We are now adjourned. Thank you. I know. I forgot the first time.